Guys, good morning. It's Nick with the podcast. We got Tommy.
Yep.
We have our guest Ashley.
Hi.
And then it's me, Nick. But yeah, thanks for sticking with us. I know it's been a few months since I've traveled to India and New York, and we did our little shorts here and there, but yeah, it's been good to get back and do a full episode. And then yeah, fortunately we have Ashley. She's in our small group, and yeah, it's just really cool to have people in our group interested and excited to do more, and then she was willing to join us today.
Yeah.
Anything you want to share about group or things you like about group or the podcast?
Yeah, honestly, I would say my favorite thing about group right now is just all the relationships I've built so far, how safe it feels to speak your mind at Bible study and stuff, and I'm really excited to be here and be a part of this podcast today.
Yeah, awesome. I know during group, like when I'm leading on Thursdays, it's always good to have feedback and people genuinely ask questions and conversations. So that's why it's always awesome to have Tommy and Ashley now to kind of stimulate that conversation. So yeah, we hope the content is still good. But yeah, we're excited to get back into Genesis and Noah going off from the previous episode. So yeah, shall we start?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll be in Genesis 7. This is going to be verses 1 through 5. Then the Lord then said to Noah, "Go into the ark, you and your whole family, because I have found you righteous in this generation. Take with you 7 pairs of every kind of clean animal, a male and its mate, and 1 pair of every kind of unclean animal, a male and its mate, and also 7 pairs of every kind of bird, male and female, to keep their various kinds alive throughout the earth. 7 days from now I will send rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and I will wipe from the face of the earth every living creature I have made." And Noah did all that the Lord commanded him.
Nice. Any quick thoughts from those verses?
Quick thought.
Yeah.
He says animal and its mate, male and female,
Mm-hmm.
so that they can reproduce and repopulate the earth once this goes on. And I know there's hot topics out there now, but I would just say that I think this is, as a Christian, reassuring that God made male and female for a purpose, just like the story of Adam and Eve. He made a partner for Adam, which was Eve. And so I think this is just reinforcing that even here with the animals and through the animal kingdom, I guess.
For sure, yes.
Yeah. Something that pops out to me is why it says 7 pairs of every kind of animal. I wonder why. 7.
Yeah.
It's an interesting number.
You go ahead, Nick.
It's 7 pairs of the clean animals, but then also
Isn't it 777? 7 days, 7 pairs of animals, 7 pairs of unclean, 7 birds. And I remember Chris from Bible study brought up the whole 777 thing.
right, true, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I do think, the same thought, that it does mean like a complete number. So in God's plan, he's including this number, he repeats it 7 again. But yeah, that's true, but then also there's 1 pair of every unclean animal,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't have any.
Do you think maybe for sacrifice or something that they were going to use?
Mm-hmm.
Or for food or something that they would have
Right.
the
Yeah.
Maybe. Just I find it interesting they use the unclean here.
Yeah.
Because now sin has been entered into the world still, and that's still kind of obviously recent because we're only in Genesis 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it's God just reiterating that not everything's perfect anymore either too. There's unclean animals now.
True.
Interesting.
Yeah, I looked on a commentary, and then they said that this is written in a time where they already had their law and sacrifices to be had, so it kind of correlates to them. So they know when the author wrote it, they knew about clean and unclean.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, later in this, I think in the next chapter after the flood, Noah does make an offering, and then I think they offer clean animals. So it kind of makes sense that they have more pairs of the clean ones.
Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, to Tommy's point with the male and female, and they're bringing the mate. Kind of a hot topic, but yeah.
Definitely.
We're here in the 21st century, and we've had this civil rights movement and the equality movement for maybe 30 years. What do you think about the grand scheme of the Bible and that it's a story of 2,000 plus years? it's just interesting to think that this is out there, and like if we believe God is true and He's beyond time, this was His creation. This is His speaking and His order. And then I remember a guy came to Bayside and he was saying like, why are we flipping all of our, not our rules, but just how we lean towards with like thoughts and ideas just because of what's happening in a brief 30 years.
Right.
But yeah, hopefully for us, we appreciate God's truth as being true. We trust that His story is true. His intentions behind creation is solid, and that He doesn't change like with the winds of culture.
Right.
Yeah. So for us, we believe this is true, and that there's an intention behind the genetics, that there is male and female. There's an intention why, it's not a science class, but there was a design and intention on why God brought forth male and female.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah.
Also, if you guys hear a dog licking us,
Yeah, we have Jersey down below. We panned before episode 1.
Oh,
yeah,
you did?
Yeah, here's Jersey. Yeah.
She's with us.
Yeah. Part of the cast. But yeah, also verse 4, there's the 40 days and 40 nights where God says this plan to flood. And that's also a special number.
Right.
Yeah, because there's like the 40 years of wandering for the Israelites. So yeah, you can kind of like, as we read, there's like pieces of these numbers. It's not like we have to know the numbers, but it's just interesting that God trends this way and that we can kind of see, what's
pattern.
important. Yeah. Importance of completion, or the completion of God's plan going forward. Yeah. And cool, verse 5, Noah did all that He commanded him.
Right.
Even though it's kind of like weird, like why all these numbers and specifics, and it's a big task to gather every animal. But yeah, Noah still obeys. Yeah. Shall we read onward?
Yep, sounds good. Verse 6 to 10. Noah was 600 years old when the flood waters came on the earth. And Noah and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives entered the ark to escape the waters of the flood. Pairs of clean and unclean animals, of birds, and of all creatures that move along the ground, male and female, came to Noah and entered the ark, as God had commanded Noah. And after the 7 days, the flood waters came on the earth.
Cool.
It's just crazy to think how he was 600 years old.
Yeah.
I remember you guys
Right.
talked about in a
Yeah.
previous
Uh-huh.
episode. That is cool.
Yeah, the timeline of their span of life. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yes.
Okay, so it's just a play out of the story. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
Okay.
obeying.
All right, verse 11. In the 600th year of Noah's life, on the 17th day of the second month, on that day all the springs of the great deep burst forth, and the floodgates of the heavens were opened, and rain fell on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. So pretty much everything that God had told Noah was going to happen is coming to fruition here. On that very day, Noah and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, together with his wife and the wives of his 3 sons, entered the ark. They had with them every wild animal according to its kind, all livestock according to their kinds, every creature that moves along the ground according to its kind, and every bird according to its kind, everything with wings. Pairs of all creatures that have the breath of life in them came to Noah and entered the ark. The animals going in were male and female of every living thing, as God had commanded Noah. Then the Lord shut him in.
Nice. Any quick comments in between?
Just the fact that Noah, a human being, is obeying all this when he was probably seen as like a crazy person.
Yeah.
Like, think about how society treats people today, like when they do something weird, or the amount of faith that would take to just build a giant ark with all the dimensions and then invite all these animals and take your family on it, and then people are like, haha, like it's not the end of the world, and then the world actually ends, like, and you're like, wow, I'm really glad I listened to God when He told me to do this, you know?
Right.
It's his faith, and it's very powerful.
For sure. Yeah. Does it say how long it took him to build all that?
I don't know if it's in like the next one or if it's a previous one,
Yeah,
but
the
I thought there's
previous.
something about how long.
Yeah, the previous chapter it said like all
Oh, it
the
was
cubits.
all the cubits, yeah. What about the next one after 7? What about 8? Did it say?
I think it just says the flood waters come and then they deal with what happened after, and like if they had to open the ark.
Oh, yeah. Well, wait. If you go back though,
Yeah.
because it says Noah was 600 years old when the flood waters came on earth. I wonder how old he was when he
Good.
was asked to make this. Like, does it ever say that? Because it says the flood came in Noah's 600th year.
Yeah, we just see the plan. We see that his sons are born, Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Yeah.
So maybe there's like genealogy somewhere where he says like Noah was this much years old and then
Sure.
he gave birth to them. But
Yeah.
unclear. But yeah, we can look into it more or if you guys at home are watching, you can look into it more to see how long that obedience process was.
Yeah, leave it in the comment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm not prepared. I kind of forgot how much a cubit is, or what scale
was
the
just
ark
wondering
is.
that,
It's
yeah.
like a football field long.
Yeah, it was pretty big when we were like.
A cubit is 1.5 feet, so 300 cubits. So like 450 feet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So 150 yards. So like a football.
So like
and
the
a half.
size of a blue whale.
Nice.
Which is crazy. I had a thought to myself, it's crazy that you think about this early civilization and then God instructs him, in a sense, how to build a boat.
Right.
So I'm wondering if he equips like humanity to, maybe there's more instruction like use this tool to build this boat, I don't know, shave the planks this way so it has curvature so it'll float.
Yeah.
But if you think about how fast civilization, or here we learn that it takes like millions of years. That's what the current society wants to say.
Yes.
We also talked about a young Earth theory about the generations, and that maybe the Earth is really young, and just by the Adam's lineage. But possibly here, God's instructing them on how to make tools and build this ark
Right.
and kind of advance technology.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know,
No,
but something
yeah.
interesting to think about. Yeah,
Right.
Really good point.
yeah. Because you would think, it's such an early society. How did Noah know to build a boat of that scale?
Also, what's crazy about that is like people can't wrap their heads around just like the pyramids in general being built. So it makes me go like, well, like maybe
Yeah.
we're not giving people enough credit back then, you know?
Exactly.
Right.
Like how he was able to move all of that and make that happen.
Mhm.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I think maybe also a detail is what work it would take to draw all these animals and if they're really obedient or not. I know in The Simpsons they portray Adam and Eve. They can talk to the animals and like the pig talks back to him. And I wonder, back then, like if Adam is naming the animals, he knows them by name.
Yeah.
If they are able to talk, like he talked to the snake. So I don't know if like there's like some hidden meaning or environment going on where they can like talk to the animals and it's like, yeah, this is happening, come with me. Or otherwise it just seems very wild. Like Jersey's wild. I can't call, she has bad recall if I call her name from the park.
I feel like they have obedience to God though, in a sense
Yeah.
that like they were going to come, and in a way it's pretty amazing that Noah was able to focus on just building the boat and having like not worrying about the little details and
Mhm.
having faith in that God was going to do the rest,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of an interesting point to relate to our lives now. Like sometimes we lose track of like the bigger picture and we kind of don't rely on God to do the things that aren't out of our control.
Right.
So I feel like with the animals, like God had that in his hands and Noah just had to focus on doing what God instructed him to do, which was build the boat,
Yeah.
which is kind of, yeah.
What's crazy
Crazy,
too
I
is,
think.
could you imagine seeing a bunch of animals just walking onto a boat and you're like, wait, how did they?
And they're just like
know?
chill and not
yeah.
attacking each other.
Right.
That'd be pretty wild, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And
That would be scary,
there's
honestly.
the detail, you think we have fossils of dinosaurs and we think dinosaurs do roam at that
Mhm.
time. So they're also, we would think, bringing dinosaurs with them
That is such a
Yeah.
good point. I've never thought of that.
unless
Like, wait, that's
unless in some way those are purged in the flood, but that's why they're extinct. I don't know.
interesting.
That would be a good point.
Hmm.
Never thought.
But yeah, here it says they take every animal, a pair of every. So you would think, yeah, the dinosaurs are included.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
We
then,
left off where?
after verse, right there, yep, verse 17. All right, continuing on, verse 17. For 40 days, the flood kept coming on the earth, and as the waters increased, they lifted the ark high above the earth. The waters rose and increased greatly on the earth, and the ark floated on the surface of the water. They rose greatly on the earth, and all the high mountains under the entire heavens were covered. The waters rose and covered the mountains to a depth of more than 15 cubits. Every living thing that moved on land perished, birds, livestock, wild animals, and all the creatures that swarm over the earth, and all mankind. Everything on dry land that had the breath of life in its nostrils died. Every living thing on the face of the earth was wiped out. People and animals and the creatures that move along the ground and the birds were wiped from the earth. Only Noah was left and those with him in the ark. The waters flooded the earth for 150 days.
Quick thoughts?
Very, obviously serious and kind of dark, depressing in a way. But also,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, when you think about it, the whole reason this came about was because of a lack of obedience to God at the time. And this is before Jesus was there to kind of save and take away those sins. So
Right.
a little bit of a different circumstance. I'm definitely happy to be alive during the time I'm alive.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, I mean, just interesting. Like God can, it's almost like a good reiteration of, you have all this great stuff here. We have like a great house we're in. We have like this great computer we get to use and all this like technology. We have like platforms like YouTube. And if God really wants to, he could take it all away in one bit. That's why it's really important to have strong faith and like probably put your interest in like family, friends, and God, because at the end of the day, that's really all you have left if everything else is taken away from you.
It's true.
And I mean, God took away Job's family too, so Job really had nothing
Yeah.
Yeah.
left.
Except his faith.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
Any other closing thoughts on those verses?
I just feel like that has to feel very scary and lonely. Like,
Mhm.
imagine just being on this boat for that long, and I couldn't imagine like the reality of that. And also just that just must have been very hard and scary
Yeah, for sure.
at the time.
Yeah, it's interesting to note that the waters rise above the mountains and attests to that. So this kind of great entire world flood and all this seismic activity. I said it before, but yeah, just trying to make sense of our faith and the creation story, and I guess making sense of the status now with like fossil records. I said before, I think at the Creation Museum, they say that the reason why things can't be predicted by the sediments and the way they fell is because we had all this seismic activity from this great flood. So when you think about millions of years and where the fossils were found, I think, and how I rationalize it is that there was this huge anomaly event with the flood that we can't really make it linear and add all things up and compare it to that sediment rate. But yeah, this is just a piece of the puzzle that, maybe this is why, fossils are the way they are. This is why dinosaurs may or may not exist now. But yeah.
Yes.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah. But yeah, the scale of his obedience, because it's 40 days of flooding, and then it's 150 days that there's still just, I guess, the waters are stagnant. They're just in a flood area, zone.
Yeah.
So it's not actively raining. So maybe it was actively raining and downpouring for 40 days. And now they're in this stagnant, flooded earth. In the next chapter, it says that it takes time for the land to reset, the waters to recede and land to show. But we'll read next time. But I think the whole process takes a full year before Noah gets out of the boat and steps on land. Yeah.
Just to add, what's really interesting about the passage when you read it is the amount of detail in this historical event. I'm gonna call it a
Yeah,
historical
yeah,
event.
right.
I hate using the term story because then people like take that and they're like, oh, you're talking about it's a story, and I'm like, no. The amount of detail in this historical event is super in depth to the point where I think at times people don't want to believe it because they're like, wait, water's covered mountains? Like they're like thinking about Lake Tahoe. They're like, so the sea level rose above the mountains, the Sierra Nevadas. Like, no way. And so I think it only gives me more faith because of how detailed it is. Because if somebody wrote a story and they're just like, yep, it flooded, kind of whatever, I feel like that wouldn't really be that convincing to me, if that makes sense.
Right.
So kind of like looking at it from a reverse perspective, like actually the more detail, the more I want to actually believe that.
Right.
Yeah. And then for me, it doesn't make sense for the author, like if they're trying to craft their own mythology, to go with that in depth and like be boring with like that much detail.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, it's also cool, here we think about science and we think about seismic activity and whatever, the Richter scale of this earthquake, but they don't have that back then.
No.
It's just true to just know that it's as high as the mountains. That's like the greatest scale that people can comprehend at that time. So
Right.
Right.
yeah, it seems very realistic, the way that God inspires the author to portray it.
Also, what did the mountains even look like back then? You know what I mean?
I
Like,
know.
what was the
Like-
landscape of the earth? Was it even because we've been here for what 2,000 years now? So it's like how much has the sea like carved out and made the mountains bigger? Like maybe
Right.
their mountains weren't even. Who knows? Maybe it
Right,
wasn't that.
yeah.
That is a good point, actually, to think about.
But I think there's this whole idea of Pangea now, the single continent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like we have a map over here. Maybe I'll show. We have a house map over there. But it's just crazy. I do think that it's real that this puzzle piece, it all comes together into one. And maybe with Eden and everything, it was just one land piece.
Right.
But then the flood happened, this great seismic activity, and maybe then it causes things to drift and break.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's
Maybe
a good
to
point.
like the incredible extent, like we think this drift happens over millions of years, but
Right.
we don't know for sure. But the scale of how long that flood period was, and maybe it just breaks apart in a matter of 1 year, like that Noah's in this time frame. So yeah.
That is really interesting.
Yeah, we have a lot of theories and thoughts, but yeah, we just think it's interesting to chew on and to make sense of our faith.
Yeah.
One thing I definitely want to share, just because I found it kind of comical or humorous, is I was on Instagram and there was this like skit. I think it was some comedians, and they dressed up as like the 12 apostles, and they're like, "All right, we're all here, all 12 of us," and they're like, "Actually, wait, there's only 11 of us now," because they were like counting Judas had already betrayed, and then they're like, "Okay, what's the plan?" And one of them's all like, "Okay, here's the plan. We're going to steal Jesus's body and then hide it and say he rose from the dead." And they're all like cheering, like, "Yeah, that's a great idea. I love a good hoax." And then he's like, "And then guess what?" He's like, "That's not it. And then we're going to get brutally murdered and persecuted." And then they're like, one guy's like, "Wait, what?" Like,
Right.
I don't know. Is
know
that?
if I-
Yeah, he's like, "Is that after I'm famous and have a lot of money?" He's like, "No, the best part is you'll be hated for the rest of your life and you'll have no money." And then like the caption was like how atheists like think Christianity started, and I'm like, it's funny to see that, and it's so reassuring, like to think like there's no way like they stole the body of Jesus, and there's no way they wanted to be brutally murdered and persecuted.
Right. Yeah, part of the aftermath. Yeah.
Just some humor for you guys at home if you need a reason to remember why to believe.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see, we're at a good 24 minutes, our usual cutoff time. Yeah, so that's really good content. But yeah, thanks for your thoughts and input, guys. That was really cool. Yeah, to have the three of us do
Yeah.
that.
It's fun.
Maybe some application questions if you have some off the top of your head. But off the top of mine, yeah, with this whole landscape of obedience, and then always with Genesis, we always have the creation story in mind, and that it's like a dividing point. Like, can people really grasp the full story of Genesis and creation, all these stories of grandeur? But hopefully we're breaking it down and we're making it digestible and it stimulates curiosity in that, yeah, maybe this is God's true plan. He has all the details listed out for us. It just takes us an ounce of belief and obedience to just step forward and trust him and live for him. Yeah.
I guess an application question I can ask is, in what ways of your life are you focusing on the little details rather than just obeying God and like focusing on him, and how can you like change that, and just like reflecting on your week and stuff like that, because I think it's really easy to focus on controlling everything when God already has that in his hands.
Yeah.
It's a good one. That was kind of where I was going with that, so I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
And then with, like Tommy said, I think the culture and like your neighbors are wicked and they're living their own life, and then Noah's living his own obedience process, building this ark and looking weird. So yeah, just balancing that. You know, we have a world that's polarized, that has different faiths and beliefs. So yeah, just asking yourself, what do I stand my foundation on? And yeah, hopefully it's truth. And yeah, what am I filling my mind with? And how am I living my life, living my actions? How am I obeying God, you know, with what he puts in front of me? Yeah.
Despite like being persecuted or looked down upon. Yeah.
Right.
Good point.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks guys for joining us. Yeah. Glad to have all three of us. Yeah, maybe we'll do this again. Yeah. To come.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah. Keep up to date with our Instagram, Bible Podcast 101, our YouTube. We have shorts out, so when there's gaps in these big episodes, you can still plug into something throughout the week. But yeah, we are very fortunate to have you guys. We're blessed to do this project, and just excited for what happens, you know, in our community and how we're growing in our small group. But yeah, also doing things for the kingdom and putting this content out there.
Yeah.
All right, thanks guys. We'll see you
Bye.
later.